back to another Millennial Monday with your unicorn fairy princess, me. Welcome to the end of July when the dreaded school season is about to start. Whether you are in school, have kids that are going to be going back to school, or you have a commute that is about to become a little bit more lengthy because of the school start. And the end of summer is always a sad time. And I do have actually some more sad news as well. This will actually be my last Millennial Monday for a little while as we transition back to a more normal world. I will be doing more outreach. Maybe once I get settled, I can reevaluate. But I will be going back into the schools myself. I will be having a lot more in-person programming, and that means I'm going to be transitioning from online programming to in-person. Also, this may not be a very creative episode. I'm tired, y'all. It's the end of summer. It's been a long year so far, and it's really hard just being this fabulous. But on this episode of Millennial Mondays, we are going to be talking about reality TV shows. We are going to be talking about a new horror book that I am completely obsessed with. And we will also be ending on an adult fantasy novel that gives us Red Riding Hood and Beauty and the Beast vibes. So buckle in and get ready for another Millennial Monday.
From director M. Night Screams-A-Lot comes a new movie to keep you up all night. Screaming Girls, starring Mercedes, is the newest horror experience. Horror lovers rejoice. Screaming Girls is a loud racket. Bring your earplugs. From the studio that brought you A Quiet Place, now experience the loudest horror movie ever made.
The Final Girl support group is your absolute newest horror obsession. If you like Stephen King or gory horror books, the Final Girl support group is going to be the perfect keep you up all night read that you must absolutely get in your life. Grady Hendrix is also the author who wrote the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which was a huge, giant bestseller last year. And it took me a little while to read that one just because so many people were talking about it. But I believe in his newest novel, there's even more at stake. There are more twists, more jump scares, and it is one of the best horror books that I have read in a really long time. Lynette is a final girl, a lone survivor of a massacre that killed her entire family around the Christmas holidays. Lynette meets with 5 other women who are also final girls every week for group therapy. They have been meeting for decades, and all the women are now older and in their 40s and 50s, but they are still haunted by the massacres that lost them their families, their friends, or their partners. Lynette is still paranoid decades after losing her family in a massacre, and she starts to think that there is something sinister going on, that there is a killer on the loose taking out the final girls. But even the other final girls have a hard time believing that someone could be targeting them. And they think Lynette is just being paranoid. But paranoia might be the one thing that saves them all in the end. I absolutely love this book. So this is a 5 out of 5 stars for me. This is going to go in my top 2021 horror book reads for this year. I'm already starting to look towards Goodreads Choice Awards in December. And it is absolutely a horror book that you are going to want to read if you like Stephen King, gory horror, and want a really great thrill ride. I read it all in one sitting. It took me about 6 hours to read it from the beginning to the end. It was a thrill ride. In fact, it was a book roller coaster. You strap into your bucket seat and you pull down that restraint bar and your feet are dangling below you. Then, before you know it, you're climbing up the highest hill you've ever seen in your life. And you're starting to freak out about your life choices. And then the author Hendrix spins you into a corkscrew. And then you're going into a loop-de-loop. And you think, goodness, it's all over because it looks like you're going back to the beginning of the ride. But then Before you know it, the track bottoms out and you're going 70 miles per hour down into the deep, dark cave. It's kind of like that. Are you a horror fan? What are you waiting for?
Need a low-key reality show to watch while you crochet? Well, Peaceful TV has your newest reality obsession, sheep shearing. Experience the drama every week as ranchers shear their sheep and then take their wool to market. And some of these sheep are frisky devils. And find out which sheep is secretly pregnant with twin babies.
I love reality TV. The drama, the fights, the costumes. Yes, the costumes. I can watch hours and hours of reality TV. And what got me addicted to this kind of TV? Was it Survivor? Was it Real World? Was it The Bachelor? No. No. It was PBS. I completely blame PBS for my reality TV show obsession. For me, the addiction to PBS reality TV shows happened when I found TV shows where they took people in the modern era and dropped them back into a simulated historical setting where they were forced to live. Want to live in Jane Austen times? Well, you can watch people struggle in a world of corsets, weird food, and no toilets. And the library has tons of nonfiction DVDs that you can check out and explore the many historical worlds that you think you want to live in, but you really don't. There is no magical rocks that will send you back to Scotland Highlander times. Yeah, no. But anyway, I wanted to go ahead and recommend a few of these reality TV shows that I think you should check out from the library. There is, of course, Manor House. This was an absolute treasure when it came out. This is kind of what it would be like if you lived in the real upstairs, downstairs times. And so it's Edwardian times where they take a British family and set them back in the early 1900s. And then there's other people who are of the modern era that then agreed to be their servants for several weeks. And they can only clean the house using Edwardian techniques from the early 1900s. Yeah, no. We also have some new ones that we just got in, and I am really excited to watch. So we've got Victorian Slum House, and this takes a group of British people who go from their 21st century families, and they live in the tough living and working conditions of the Victorian poor. So real life Charles Dickens. Then, of course, we have the Coal House. We have Coal House and we have Coal House at War. And this takes a whole bunch of families, so several families, and they have to go live like it's in the 1920s Britain. And the men are the ones who are going to work in the mines. And then the children have to go to 1920s classrooms and get a 1920s education, which is very different than our modern education system. And then there was the sequel, of course, which was Coal House at War. And this sees the three families go into World War II and what it would be like to live in Britain during that time. When I talk about reality TV, this is what I'm talking about. I absolutely love the historical significance of it. So the people who do these shows really do their homework, and they are living in the exact living conditions that people during that historical time would have lived without any of the modern conveniences of technology, sometimes running water, and they have to learn to survive in the way people used to. And there is a lot of things they have to overcome, but there is a lot of celebration and things too that we take granted for today that they get to explore. So I really recommend any of the PBS reality TV shows where they are doing these house shows where they get to go back in time. I would definitely check them out. And lastly, today we are going to be talking about a new adult fantasy book that I just picked up. It had been recommended to me online several times from TikTok to Twitter to Instagram. I kept seeing people talk about this book. And it is For the Wolf by Hannah Witten. Hannah is a brand new debut author. This is her very first book. This is going to be the first book in the Wilder Wood series. This is book 1, and it is an adult fantasy novel that feels like you're reading a horror version of a fairy tale. His eyes are away from her to the waiting Wilder Wood beyond, the ring of cleared ground. I warned you before, Red. None of the stories here have happy endings. So, this story, the premise is the first daughter is for the throne, and the second daughter is for the wolf. And it is a fantasy world where creatures, dark creatures, have been coming out of the ether, and the Wilder Woods has bound the dark creatures from getting to the villages and the places where the humans lived. And people had to make a pact with the Wilder Wood to ensure the magic would keep them safe. And so the reigning queen, when she has 2 daughters, the first daughter is for the throne and will rule, and the second daughter is a sacrifice to the Wilder Woods and the wolf to ensure the continued peace and imprisonment of the dark creatures. Red has grown up her entire life knowing that she was going to be sacrificed to the wolf, and she thinks that means that she will be killed when she goes into the woods on her 19th birthday. And so she goes into the woods and she finds out that there is more sinister magic happening. And she finds a castle in the middle of the woods and finds the wolf, who isn't really a wolf, but instead is a human man with magic that he has been using to bind the woods and try to stop the decay. But his magic isn't really working anymore, and Red realizes that she may be the key to helping stop the decay of the forest and also from stopping the dark creatures from escaping the Wilder Woods and harming the humans. Is this book good? Yes, it is extremely good. It's definitely a slower adult fantasy. If you are looking for something fast and snappy like a Sarah J. Maas, this may not be your cup of tea, but for me, I have always loved fairy tales. And so for me, the fact that this book is more in tune with the magic and the fantasy world and romance is there, but it kind of takes a back seat to the adventure that is going on. I really appreciate that. It is something very different. It's different than anything else I've read in a while. And I really appreciated that. She's definitely a new voice in adult fiction, and I'm excited to see where the second book goes. And that's going to be it for another Millennial Monday. Thank you so much for joining me today. Make sure to like us on Facebook and check out our website at www.scottpublib.org for a list of all our upcoming events and programs, to get your own library card, or to check out our catalog. Now let's dance party out of here.